All right, we're live. I like that. I'm getting a hang of it every time. It's getting better. Yeah, practice makes perfect. All right. Well, hello and welcome to our Inside Whole Wellness Talk. Raw, real, unfiltered. We're the team of very passionate professionals behind the big mission of making coaching for everyone accessible, affordable, empowering. And this is a wonderful opportunity for us to share who we are and for you to learn about us, our life journeys, and what drives us, why are we doing what are we doing, and being part of whole wellness coaching. Today I have Lisa Jones, a fantastic woman, a woman of so many talents, and she's a numbers person and she trusts her intuition over spreadsheets. And Lisa is a former CPA who balances not just books but lives as well. She's a financial expert who had a shared death experience and came back with different priorities. She's a former corporate advisor who now guides women through the sacred work of choosing themselves. And Lisa knows what self abandonment costs. She's walked away from perfect on paper to follow what felt true in her bones. And she supported CEOs and hospice patients, grieving families, spiritual seekers, finding the thread connecting them all, the courage to live in alignment. And as a whole wellness coach and treasurer, she blends financial wisdom with soul deep knowing because transformation needs both. And today we're answering your questions and getting to know Lisa. Welcome. So honored to have you here with me today.
Thank you, Dasha. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, first and foremost, what inspired you to become as a treasurer, board of director at Whole Wellness Coaching, and how your CPA training helps with everything that you do at Whole Wellness?
Well, it's such an interesting story because, again, everything that happens in my life now is very mystical and very attuned with what is wanted within spirit, I believe. And so, interestingly, I have been studying human design, which maybe people are not familiar with human design, but it's really a fascinating study of it looks at your birth date and it looks at chakras and it looks at the I Ching and just all these wonderful things that you can look at how and why you were born at the moment you were and what gifts you have to offer. So I was very deep. It was a year-long process, and actually, Dr. Charlene was in that cohort with me, and we were getting to know each other and just um, it was so interesting. We just started talking and we just clicked right away. And then she said, well, by the way, we're starting a nonprofit. It's called the Whole Wellness. And she told me who it was for, people with domestic violence, divorce, and widow. And I was like, well, wow, I've experienced all of those things. And she said, you're kidding. And she said, well, we're putting our board together. Would you be interested? And I almost fell off my chair because just maybe a day or two before, I just had this overwhelming feeling that I wanted to be on a board of directors. And I'm like, why am I even thinking that I want to be? I mean, that just seems like such a random thought. But then here I was presented with this opportunity, and I'm a projector, which the best way for me to work is to be invited. So next day, I get this invitation to be on the board of directors, and it was an absolute no-brainer, given that not only have I experienced all those things, but now I'm in a place where I can actually help all those types of people, uh, work through whatever they're working through. And also, using human design, I'm going to be putting up a human design course that people can get to know what that means and how that can help them on their journey forward.
That's amazing. And like you've been joking, you're our trifecta.
Exactly.
That's for sure. Have so many life experiences. And I want to dive into your life experiences first, and then we can maybe share a little bit more what human design is because it's an absolutely fascinating um, tool, or I'm not sure how to even describe it. You'll do it best. But first of all, I am very curious about your experiences. So you experienced loss,
Yes.
death, and divorce, and as domestic violence survivor, your identity at some point in your life, and you had shared death experience. How all of this shaped you and move you through the world and helping others.
Yeah, it's been amazing. In fact, I have written a book called The Art of Living Happy After the Loss of a Loved One, and it was really almost confronting for me when I read the book a few years ago for Audible, because after writing it down, it was so cathartic to get all of those. I guess my divorce wasn't in that part of it yet, but it was the domestic abuse and losing my husband when I was 37 after 7-year battle with cancer. But yeah, when I read the book, I was like, wow, this poor woman. And I'm like, wait, that was me. And so yeah, it's just interesting how life presents different experiences for us. And what's so interesting recently is I was on a big journey and I was traveling through Europe.
Excuse me.
And and I was traveling through Europe and actually attended a shaman retreat where for the first time I was able to really look at these abandonment issues that I've had in my life because I was adopted as a baby. And then again, my husband died when I was very young. My parents who adopted me actually died when I was quite young as well. And I was able to finally look and see that it's not that I was being abandoned, but that my soul wanted to experience freedom in this lifetime. And that has given me so much joy and relief. It's like I'm not doing anything wrong. It wasn't, me doing anything, but it was actually um, this was part of the plan, part of what I agreed to when I came down here. And that's just given me an amazing amount of energy and excitement and now to be able to use that information, with people that are going through their own struggles and to help them really identify what did your soul want you to come here to experience. And I think it just flips the script, and I'm super excited that that's, the direction I'm going in now.
And it's such a powerful tool, isn't it? It's like you said, reading your book is like, oh, having that dissociation and just looking at your own story from the outside perspective. And that's what we do as coaches. We support clients through that. Is like, look at your life story and flipping the script is very, very powerful. And that it's just again like it sounds like that alone help you to move forward and find that strength and not really be in that headspace for a very long time. So I'm curious, what would you tell yourself, your younger self, your younger in terms of the life experience self who was going through that? What would be, I don't know, maybe like one thing or a couple of things that you would really tell her to help to go through that?
Great question, Dasha. I think I would say that when you're in the midst of a real trauma, for example, I'm thinking back to myself when I think I must have been 19 or 20 when I had the domestic abuse situation. And, and when you're in the thick of it, it's very difficult to zoom out. But that would be the thing I would suggest is to try when you're in a really scary, awful situation, once you have a little bit of safety, but to zoom out and to really try to make it not so personal, which again is so difficult to do when you're in it. It's kind of like being lost in the woods. All you see are trees all around you, but you don't realize the woods do end at some point, and it's just a matter of figuring out how to get to that, to get out of the woods. And so, I guess just from my life experience, the same thing when I lost my husband after him being sick and him dying. And I had two little children. They were 1 and 3 diagnosed when he was diagnosed, and 8 and 10 when he died. And to look back now and see, like zooming out, saying, wow, this has taught us so many lessons. It's taught us, um, you know, just compassion for others in loss. And also, I had an out of body near death experience, which changed my life dramatically because I was able to witness my husband welcomed into heaven, which I was concerned because he wasn't baptized. So there was a lot of letting go of belief systems and things like that. But also now realizing I've cultivated this beautiful relationship with him in spirit. And so I can help people when they have had loss, even if it's through divorce and, of course, through widowhood, that you can still, with their soul, maintain a beautiful relationship, because in some way, even if it's been a terrible situation, even with like my domestic abuser, I've been able to find peace with that. We've actually exchanged, it was probably 15 years ago, emails back and forth, and he was so grateful that I was able to forgive him. And that was huge for me too, to get that closure. And again, I'm not suggesting that people do that with, their situation. I'm just explaining that in my situation, it ended up helping me move forward in a way that I didn't even think was possible. So yeah, so anyway, zooming out and realizing that this is just a small moment in time, and to not take it personally. Like I feel like we're in a video game, and that, sometimes things happen that aren't fun, and that are very, very difficult. But if we cannot take it so personally and see it as the bigger picture about what our soul is here to experience for growth and really enlightenment.
Yeah, and also that forgiveness part, that so many times we think if we forgive, that is weakness, or we really have to forget what that person done to us or for us. I'm curious, how did you get to that point of forgiveness? Because it's, of course, we can talk about it probably all day long. I understand it's a loaded question, but also, like, really, it's just such a big piece for moving forward. And it's so extremely difficult to forgive people who caused a lot of harm, toxicity in our lives.
Absolutely. I think, and again, this could be triggering to some, but just again, with my own experience, I think it was really about, again, that zooming out and looking at that other person as a soul, and not as the person, and not as their behavior. And realizing that, wow, I've got chills when I say this, because I truly do believe everybody's doing the best they can, even when they are being awful, because something must have happened to them to create this awfulness within them. Again, they talk about hurt people hurt people. And so, again, I'm not condoning any kind of abuse in any way, whether it's emotional, physical, mental, any of that. However, I think if we end up just spending our time blaming the other person about, what was done to me, that's the victim mode. And one of my biggest things in life is taking 100% responsibility for my life, and what have I done to help create whatever situation. Because it's, again, it's a two-way street, it's a tango. It's not just like I'm just standing there, and this just happened to me. I mean, there's some sort of interaction. And so anyway, I think that's, for me, the biggest thing is to just really look at soul to soul. And I also think I'm grateful that this person agreed to be that for me in my life, and and that I learned so much from it. I'm always about, what have I learned from this, as opposed to blaming and being the victim. To me, the victim is not a moving forward um, technique. That's a being stuck technique. So I guess that
Yes.
would be my suggestion.
All right. Yeah, beautiful. And it's like, yeah, going from Cartman's drama triangle into empowerment triangle, and that's what we um, help people at Whole Wellness Coach, and when we work with clients, to do exactly that, become a creator of your own life. And yes, we can be victim, but we don't have to stay in the victim mentality. They are completely two different things. And also being aligned with the intuition, with the world. I know, Lisa, you are a very intuitive person, and I'm curious what that means to you to live in integrity with your intuition, and especially when things are going against what's good on paper.
I know that's a great question as well. Yeah, so intuition, and I don't know about you, but I feel as though the more often that I don't follow it, and in small things, I mean, for example, like, oh, I should get a rain jacket, and I just decide to leave the house and not get the rain jacket, and then sure enough, I mean, it's a clear blue sky day. I don't need a rain jacket. What are you talking about? And then, just 15 minutes down the road, I'm like in a torrential rainstorm, and that rain jacket would have been a really good thing. So for me, it's first starts out with those little whispers and to really follow them because our intuition is helping us. I mean, those that to me is kind of like our guardian angel, whispering to us about how to help us in our life. And so then when you start to get to really lean in and listen to your intuition, then you start getting more ideas, or intuitive thoughts about bigger issues in your life, like, maybe you should take this job or date that person or whatever. But again, it's about listening to your intuition. And um, and again, when it looks good on paper, it's very difficult to walk away. And recently I had an experience. In fact, it was a dating situation where I met a gentleman, and wow, on paper, everything looked great. It was like moving forward. We were actually, um, going, we ended up on a trip to Europe together. We planned a 4-week trip, and it was very exciting. And after the first week, there was some behavior that was just absolutely not acceptable. And my whole body, and this is where your intuition, if you don't listen to just the little whispers, all of a sudden your body is like telling you, information. And so my body was shaking, and I could not control that when I was in the room with him. And so I finally sat and just listened to my intuition, and it was like, yeah, are you going to self-abandon yourself to stay on this trip, or are you going to, listen to yourself and have your freedom, which is, what you really want. And so as hard as it was, I decided that it was more important to me to have my integrity and not have somebody questioning that. And so I ended the whole thing. And the funny part, the ironic part was, he had made some non-refundable, reservations. And so he said, well, I'm going home. You can just have the rest of the trip to yourself. And I was like, wow, little did I know that I would get that benefit from actually listening and speaking my truth. And I didn't have to, put up with that behavior anymore. So anyway, even though it looked good on paper, it wasn't worth it at the end. And then I actually got a bonus for speaking my truth.
This is should be like a poster for domestic violence survivors um, story, because that's exactly um, why so many women stay, right? For the lifestyle. Oh, we have plans together. It's good on paper. We look like a perfect couple, and everybody around us telling, and it's like all of these pieces that the influences we have, internal and external, to stay or go back into that cycle. And what you describe, and you broke that cycle, even though that was really difficult. And it's so interesting. It's like I hear from clients that I work with, well, I have the information, I know what to do, I have the tools. Well, yet I do self-abandonment process over and over and over again. Like something's got to be wrong with me. And what you're describing is like, yes, that's exactly when you choose yourself, you actually receive perks.
Yes.
You receive wonderful things from life. And as a person who knows what self-abandonment costs, what did you learn from all of that? Like what is that cost of self-abandonment, and what are the ways to start listening when your body whispers to you instead of screaming, or when the body is already screaming at you, to you, and just trying to get attention? How to pause long enough and just, okay, I'm listening, I'm choosing myself.
Yeah, again, great question. And what's so interesting, of course, now I can go back and look at, even after meeting him, after the first or second date, I started to see little red flags, right? Those were the intuitive, like, wait, I'm not sure. But again, it looks so good on paper. I'm like, oh, I got to give the guy a chance. Like, I'm not going to just. And so I think that's the cost of self-abandonment. And that's what I was doing early on, was sweeping those things under, the rug, because I didn't want that to be the truth. I mean, here's a guy with money and handsome and had so many connections, And but that's the cost, because looking back, and especially kind of our first, disagreement, uh, I should have just left right then and there, and I wouldn't have gotten to the point where my body was screaming at me. And I think that's the other thing is I've definitely noticed that if you don't take the whispers seriously, our angels, our intuition, our guidance is just going to get louder and louder and louder, and until you finally take action. And again, looking back, because now that I've seen this pattern, I can see it in so many different places. For example, when I was working at the hedge fund, this was after my husband died, and when he died, he told me something that absolutely broke my heart, because he was a tax attorney. He worked for big companies. And just a week before he died, he said, I so regret my life's work. He said, all I did was move numbers around on pieces of paper for big companies. I wish I had helped more people. And I was heartbroken to think that this man, who was wonderful, he was such a loving, wonderful husband and father, and that he was going to his deathbed with regret around his life's work. And again, I was 37, he was 44 when he died. What did I do? I went back to work and was pushing numbers around on pieces of paper at a hedge fund, getting paid great money. And then as I was approaching my 44th birthday, my guides started to say, you've got to quit. You've got to start, because by this time I was channeling angels. I was, I mean, all of this intuitive stuff was happening. And they were like, you got to leave, you got to leave. And I'm like, oh, the money's too good. Well, next thing I know, I mean, I've always been like the stellar employee. But the next thing I know, my one of my coworkers is like complaining about me to my boss, and my boss is lecturing me, and I'm like, what is going on? I mean, it just got worse and worse. And finally, I was just like, that's it. I can't take this environment anymore. The environment got so toxic. I quit. And then they said, well, could you stay just one more week? We'll give you a $10,000 bonus just to stay one more week. And I'm like, what? So, anyway, once again, when I did the hard thing, which was I didn't want to let go of this money because I didn't know what was on the other side, I got a big bonus, which helped me start my initial Art of Living Happy business that I started after that. And then I started doing stage shows and radio shows, and I mean, it was just so much fun. But there is a reward when you actually stand up for yourself and move forward. And so again, I can see that time and time again when I've stood up for myself, even though it takes my guides have been screaming at me for a long time before
Ah,
I take that
yes.
action.
And how does it feel to choose yourself? I see your whole demeanor changes, how you start glowing.
Yes.
And internally, what's going on? Because I feel, and also in studies shown, right, that our brain is our friend and foe at the same time. Our brain is there to keep us safe, which means repeating the pattern over and over and over again and breaking well, because the pattern kept us safe, even though might not be the case actually, but it's what's familiar. And for something that is new, so much more energy is required. And for a lot of people, it's like, well, like you said, I don't know what's on the other side. And it's very risky. You jump in without a safety net a lot of times. And how can I choose myself if I have bills to pay, kids to feed, and all of that? And just how does it feel like you're on that other side? And maybe it's like, come here, I'm here, you're there, but come on, it feels fill in the blank. How does it feel?
Oh my gosh, it feels phenomenal. It feels when you choose yourself, again, I feel like you're rewarded through the universe. I mean, that's what we're here to do. I mean, love at the end of the day is the answer to everything, and self-love first and foremost. And again, it's that unknown. Like you said, our brain wants to keep us, it only knows the past. And so our brain is constantly trying to just keep us doing what it knows rather than moving into this unknown. But that's where the magic is. That's where magical things happen. But again, without stepping off into that first step of unknown, we never get to experience that magic. And so, yeah, it's magical, it's mystical. I mean, my life is just, in fact, after my divorce, I knew that I wanted to move to Hawaii. And that was actually part of the big reason we were getting divorced. When I met him, I'd met him after my husband died, and I wanted to move to Hawaii with my children. And he said, "Well, I have such a great job. Let's wait till they're out of high school." I'm like, "That's 9 years, you know?" And then the 9 years came and went. And then he said, "Well, let's find somewhere on the East Coast." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to live on the East Coast." And so we tried a new place, and I was not happy there. And so finally, he said, "Well, why don't you go to Hawaii and make sure that you like it, before we move out there." So I came for 6 weeks and I absolutely fell in love and it was amazing. And I mean, again, here was the other side, right? I came to Hawaii and I swam with whales. I met Ram Dass. I was asked to be a TV co-host. I mean, everything that I wanted was on the other side of that. And I went home and I said, "Okay, let's go." And he said, "Yeah, I'm not going. I really don't want to live there." And so I had to make that decision. Am I going to go or not? And I did. And I've been here now 9 years, and it's been some of the best years of my life. And yes, I'm single, but you know what? It's been so worth it. My soul is so happy.
Ah, that is so inspiring and beautiful. And so, if somebody is stuck in their motherhood, in their grief, in their job, in whatever that feeling stuck manifests in somebody's life, what would you say to that person, to that woman or man? Because at Whole Wellness Coaching, we're all inclusive. We talk a lot about women because there is a tendency of women asking for help and just getting more personal development in that sense, but also we welcome everybody. 18
Absolutely.
years and higher and older.
Wonderful. Well, I guess the thing to me is to always come back to your core and to what lights you up, what brings you joy, what you need to get that clarity. And the only way to find that is to coming back to your own inner core. And so if you are stuck, if you feel like, motherhood is overwhelming you, or you're in a situation where, there's abuse in some way, whether it's, mental, physical, emotional, uh, it's so important to come to your own internal integrity of who you are. And even if it's like even if it's journaling, if it's coloring, if it's something to get yourself out of the fray of what's happening in your life, and come to that, to find those whispers, to find the intuition, because you'll get nudges, and that's the other thing, is to lean into, what do you want your life to look like? Imagine what your perfect life is, because what you're doing is programming your brain only knows what's happened in the past. So you have to start imagining your brain that it's currently happening, that, like, for me, I'm living in Hawaii and I love it here, and I go swimming, and I get to see dolphins and whales. And so when you start imagining that in your brain, your brain starts giving you little nudges of ways to be able to put yourself in that direction. So that would be my suggestion, is just imagine the life you want and then follow those nudges. And again, they might be difficult. They might be like, yeah, you got to quit your job, or yeah, you got to leave this person, or and again, with motherhood, I mean, that is one of the most thankless jobs in the world. We don't, I mean, my children, it's their birthday week this week. I've got one on the 3rd and one on the 10th, and they're full grown adults now. I'm so proud of them. But wow, being a mom is just such a thankless job, but it is so worth it. Um, and especially for us as mothers, to be that role model for our children. So it's so imperative to get help. I mean, for example, with Whole Wellness Coaching, we offer this amazing service, and available to everybody, and at an affordable price. And so there's no reason not to be reaching out and getting this help.
Yes, because coaching is helping to have this bird's eye view to really put the perspective of what's happening, what maybe some other ways, because when we're so close to the issue or challenge, that is pretty much impossible to get unstuck. And also, yes, you mentioned today is my daughter's sweet 16. And this morning I've been feeling like, oh my gosh, I remember holding her. I remember going through birth like it was yesterday. How did that happen? Time flies so quickly. And we help with just all of this. And we have the workshop coming up, actually, series of workshops, co-parenting with a narcissist for teenagers and for younger kids, because that experience is something else on top of everything that every mother goes with every teenager on this planet. And also, another big piece is we all at Whole Wellness team, we combine some things that are on paper, they cannot be combined. Like for you, you blend financial clarity and soul wisdom, talking to angels, you had shared death experience. All of this on paper, it just doesn't make sense. In real life, it makes such perfect sense. So, how can you describe how does it all blend in, and why is it so important to be who we are and actually honor everything that, again, is not might not be perfect on paper, but in life it just like makes who you are.
I love that. Well, it's kind of it's reminding me of like a recipe to bake a cake, right? Every single one of us has our own ingredients added, and we've had all these different experiences and life challenges, and but that's what makes us so unique, and especially as we're all getting older, it's like the wisdom that you have after you've experienced different things. I mean, you've gotten out of a very toxic relationship, as did I, as well as, experienced widowhood. And it's just the amount of wisdom that comes from that is incredible. And so, yeah, so it's all of those little magical ingredients which again make no sense if you write it down on a piece of paper, but then when you have that person that's fully developed and has been able to navigate, I mean, that's where the wisdom lies. And that's why, to me, community is so important, and to be able to share with other people, not to be isolated, not to be on your own, but to lean in and to be with people that have had similar experiences. Like, that is the best way to live your life.
Yes, and we always remind that you're not alone, and we're not supposed to go through life alone. And it's yes, and that's why, as a team, we always support one another. We always share what's going on, and in my heart, I truly feel that every workplace should be like that. We should feel like a family, that if anything happens, we can go and help one another. So we're really walking our talk and just like align our personal values and our company values, and just how we all attracted one another. That is like you said, and Dr. Shalene and I, we just met online, just happened, and out of this interesting idea, this, and here we are, phenomenal people on the team, and the work we've been doing is just such a big honor. So we all make sense while on paper. Again, it's just like from different worlds. And you also worked with so many different people from so many different universes, like CEOs, hospice patients, grieving families, spiritual seekers, right? It's like, again, on paper, it's like very interesting. So, how or what connects all these people from all these different universes in your deeper calling?
That's such a great question. I would have to say, I mean, it's literally the thread of our soul. Like, we're each a soul behind our persona of this human walking person that we interact with. But at the core of it all is we are a soul having a human experience. And so to be able to tap into that, whether it's a dying hospice patient who I absolutely love sitting with at the bedside as they're, within 24 to 48 hours of taking their last breath, I'm able to sit and telepathically just hold space for them to be able to, I can feel the fear of them letting go. And yet, because I've been to the other side, I'm also able to assure them that it's going to be amazing. It's like that. It's, oh my gosh, I'm just getting this epiphany right now. It's like us not self-abandoning ourselves and choosing ourself in a very difficult situation. It's the same with my hospice patients as they're taking their last breath about, oh my God, I'm afraid of what's going to be next. But based on interviewing, I had a podcast called Exploring Death. I've interviewed over 100 near death experiencers. Every one of them, I mean, it's like an amazing experience on the other side. And even if it starts off a little tricky at the beginning, because I know Dr. Eben Alexander had an incredible one, where he started kind of with the worms and the mire and the muck, but then he let go. And the next thing you know, he was flying with a butterfly and being shown everything because he was such a materialist that that was all his brain thought was on the other side. But then when he thought, well, is it possible there's anything else? And then boom, out he went. So so anyway, to be able to sit with a person that's in that dire situation, literally going into the next phase, or a CEO who's got the weight of the world of his company on his back or her back, and all of her own personal issues that she's going through and all of that and how to navigate all that. If you can come to the soul level and really get to what did her soul come here to experience it, then and you can start just untangling all of the these cords that are wrapped around and make it so difficult, and then you see clarity, and then you see, oh wow, the next step is so obvious. And so yeah, so I think that's how I'm able to work with all these different types of people and help them touch into their magic, and allow them to take that next step, which to me is always rewarded, not necessarily financially, but just in soul expansion.
Yes. I love that. What is possible? And just asking that question is absolutely just opens so many doors. And like you said, going to the soul level, and it's like we all wear suits, like CEO or somebody who like moved numbers their whole lives, or somebody who was the caretaker their whole life. And just like the suits, but also the soul level, we are so connected. And it's such a wonderful reminder, especially now when there are so many things happening in the world, in the country, that try to divide us and try to point out if you have different opinions that you're not the same human being as I am. And at the end of the day, we're all connected on the soul level, and we really have to remind ourselves and get these reminders constantly that we're all together in this. It's this human experience, and you have this amazing uh, I don't even know. It's not experience. It's more than that. It's just beautiful thing that you touch death basically, and you saw what's on the other side, that we all, that what connects us, death. And I know you talk a lot about it on national television in your book, and it's such a loaded question. I think we will leave it for another talk, because I think we can spend hours and hours talking about it. It's interest of mine as well, near death experience. I smell death, as I call it, at 19, surviving a car crash as a passenger. And that changed my life, changed my priorities, perspectives, and just showed me how quick anything and everything can vanish and what is truly important in this life. And I really hope that our listeners don't have to go through such traumatic experiences in life to really reevaluate and really understand what life is and what whole wellness is, whole living is. And I'm curious, what is whole wellness mean for you?
For me, it's definitely about connecting all the pieces, especially into my soul, and what, again, this human suit, this human experience. But whole wellness is more than just, physical health or mental health or any of that. It's really allowing me to be my true authentic self and to help others be, find that within themselves. So that's really yeah, it's such an honor to be able to assist others. In fact, I just before our interview, I woke up and I had had a dream about, and it was so interesting because I was with children, I was on boards of directors, I was with all these different people, and it was literally, it was almost like I had a fairy wand, and I was just tapping them, and they could see their own magic within them. I think people, their lights just get so dimmed from all the hardship that we do experience in this lifetime. And but again, if you can zoom out and just see, wow, this experience is helping me ex helping my soul experience the expansion it wanted to experience in this lifetime. It just changes everything because again, you're coming from it as a gratitude of experience rather than, again, ultimately the victim of some circumstance. And so yeah, so whole wellness to me is just finding that magic within and then expressing it to the world as to why you're here and how you're going to help in the world.
Yes, and that's what human design helps. Then you, for our team, you did our readings and how we can best work together and how we can best highlight our unique brilliances and where we can step in to, well, maybe not the best expression to describe it, but cover our weaknesses and just really let each other shine and support each other in the best possible way. And for me, I'm generator manifester,
Yeah,
and
manifesting generator. Yeah.
that yes, right, it's like when you described what it is, that just helped me. And then when you did my daughter's reading, that helps me to be a better parent as well, just understanding her better, just what her numbers are. That's right, that's what you exactly do, like you combine that financial clarity and that soul wisdom on that level. And that is absolutely eye opener because I was like, oh, I am who I am, and it's just all the layers and layers and layers of who we are. And if you can tell us a little bit briefly what human design is and is not, and a little bit about the course that you are creating.
Great question. I'm going to read because I always forget. There's five uh, kind of holistic knowledge that comes up. So it's ancient and modern sciences, including Western astrology, the I Ching, the Kabbalah, the chakra system, and quantum physics. So it's really all encompassing. And what I love, for example, especially like yours is such a great, unique example. So you're a manifesting generator. Your daughter is a generator, or sorry, manifester, and there are only maybe 9% of the entire population are manifestors. And manifestors are very unique in that they are not here to be told what to do. So, as a parent of a manifestor, I feel that that information alone is worth, its weight in gold for you to be able to help your daughter because again as a parent it's your responsibility to help guide her and be her parent, but at the same time manifestors that aren't supported in who their natural design is end up having a very difficult time in life because again there's so many nuances here, but I just love the fact that that was such a great thing. And then, for example, on the projector, which again, only about 19-20% of people are that, here to lead people, here to guide people, but also projectors can be very pointy auras. So, unless I'm invited to share my wisdom with others, people are like, whoa, that's a bit much. And I've had that my whole life. I didn't understand that until I was shown my human design, and it's helped me tremendously in just allowing for those invitations to come in. And then when they are, they're so welcomed and people are excited. But I definitely know, especially like with my kids, unless they ask me for my advice, they don't want to hear it. So,
Yeah.
so yeah. So anyway, I'm going to be doing for whole wellness coaching just an overview of what is human design. So if you're interested, be sure to check back on the website. We're going to get that up in the next few weeks, and that'll give a nice overview and also a way that you can plug in your information and find out what you are. And then if you want to go deeper, there's going to be an opportunity. I'll be doing probably a workshop or something like that to help people dive deeper.
Yes, please leave us a comment or write to us. You can find us at www.wholewellnesscoaching.org, where you can get all of the information and leave us a comment or and we love hearing from you. And it's so for me, human design is a wonderful tool to understand yourself better and people around you better and how you interact and how you complement one another and how to like exactly what you said. It's like, oh, well, yes, every teenager doesn't want their parent to parent them and tell them what to do. And I'm dealing with a manifester who doesn't want to hear it at all, probably ever, ever. How to navigate that. Still navigating it, we'll report back when I figure that out.
That's
Um,
right. That's right.
but also, it's like that is a wonderful feedback and information. It's not just being caught up as like, oh, I'm not doing a very good job, or there is something my kid is not getting, or and just going in that spiral. But just having this information that information is power, knowledge is power, and understanding what to do with that. But with without Lisa's help, I would not be able to do it. And thank you, Lisa, because I just like, oh, all right, well, now what?
Exactly.
What can be done? And that's exactly what coaching is. Like, we don't have answers as coaches. We help people to get answers from within, just surface them up. And that's human design tool, and then dissociation from like good one, that bird's eye view, and reframing, flipping the script, just naming the few. They're absolutely amazing tools, but without instructions, like I was like, okay, human design, wonderful. I am this, my daughter is this. Now what? So
Exactly.
it's how to apply that knowledge and just how to be guided in that, what to apply and when and all of this wonderful stuff. And we as coaches will have coaches, we help one another all the time, and we invite you to join us in this wonderful journey. And I want to ask you last question today. I can, you and I can talk for hours and hours and and have so much to share. The last question would be, if your soul had one message for women and men navigating a major life transformation right now, what would that be?
What would that be? I would just say trust in your heart. Like regardless of what's going on outside of you, you know, again, there's just so much happening outside of us. I would say, you know, it's just about coming back to yourself, spending time alone. Again, for me, I've turned off the news. I try to limit my scrolling. I try to spend more time in nature and just keep finding that internal space within me. Even for 5 minutes a day, if you can just close your eyes and just breathe. I think that's the thing. Right now, there's so much chaos. There's so much happening. It's difficult to navigate when you're just being input so much. And I'll just say one thing. I did a 10-day silent retreat where you can't speak for 10 days. This was a few years ago. And I was so concerned that I wouldn't, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to talk for 10 days. That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, that was not a problem. Not talking was not a problem. The best part of the whole thing was not having people talk to me or at me or listening to anything. I don't think people realize how inundated we are with outside influences on us on a daily basis. And so carving out that time alone for yourself where it's silent and I specifically ideally in nature, that would be my thing to do because coming home to ourselves is the greatest gift that you can possibly give yourself.
Yes, and also the byproduct of this, you can avoid self-abandonment because if
That's
you're
right.
connected with yourself, you can really just listen to your intuition, the whispers, and really just choose yourself every single time, which
Absolutely.
is a lesson of its own and the skill to master. Beautiful. Uh, Fantastic. Thank you, Lisa. I,
Thank you.
again, can ask you so many more questions. And if you feel inspired working with Lisa, Lisa is a phenomenal coach, one of our coaches at Whole Wellness Coaching Platform. And if you're feeling stuck, if you're going through a major life transition or minor life transition or any change, or you just want to know who you are, you just want to connect with yourself and break the pattern of self-abandonment, Lisa would be a fantastic guide to work with you and really help you to get to that other side of phenomenal living, that beautiful connection with the world, with nature, with yourself. And I experienced Lisa's coach, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And thank you, Lisa,
Gotcha.
so much for joining me today.
Yes, thank you.
And for all of our listeners, that will be the wrap for today. We love, love, love hearing from you. We're all educators on Whole Wellness Coaching Platform. We love sharing. We love supporting people. That's what we're here for, to make coaching for everyone accessible, affordable, empowering. And I really hope that you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, because we're real people. We're here for real connection and real change. Please stay connected. Go visit us at wholewellnesscoaching.org. Drop us a line, ask us anything, and we will answer it our best ability. And have a fantastic day and have lots of courage to walk this life and get to that other side, whatever that means for you, in the best possible way, to get unstuck and really find that happiness and bliss in life that is on the other side of that unknown, beautiful calling that is waiting for you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Tasha.
Thank
Aloha,
you,
everyone.
Lisa.
Aloha.